Welcome to Changed for Good, Life Elevated Through Christ with LSI Studios. In this podcast, we explore the ways in which Jesus Christ can make a lasting and elevated change in our lives. Because of Him, we can become more than we were and also receive grace for where we are on our journey. I'm your host, Britta Benyon. In celebration of the podcast's 2-year mark, the next several episodes will be a special series focused on missionaries. Missionaries are ambassadors for the Lord Jesus Christ. They go out into the world to share His message and His light. Being a follower of Christ means that we share who He is, what He has done, and how that knowledge and understanding can bless your life. But sharing that message always comes with challenge, as it always has for those who spread His word. These valiant and faithful missionaries who we will meet met that challenge head on and found a way to keep moving forward. Whether you are a missionary, will be a missionary, or simply are a self-proclaimed missionary, to those in your life, these messages are for you. Okay, today I have Chris Verduzco with me, and I'm super excited to hear your stories because I honestly don't know very many of them. But my husband knows you and many others, and I'm super excited to hear what you have to say. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
Yeah. So why don't we have you tell us about yourself right now, a little bit about your phase of life, what you're doing.
Yeah, so in a couple weeks, I'm going to go to BYU Provo just for a semester, and then after that, I'm going to go to BYU Idaho. I'm 24 years old, and I just love making music and lifting weights.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's fun. What kind of music?
Whatever comes up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, do you play an instrument or sing or?
No, I use my computer, so I like
cool.
mix noises and stuff.
Neat. That sounds fun.
I've been to pretty good stuff before.
I bet you do. That's cool. Yeah, it's a neat talent to have. That's pretty fun. Awesome. Okay, so why don't we start with you have not been a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints your entire life. So why don't you start with telling us that story about how you found Christ and how that all came about for you?
Yeah, of course. So my mom has always been a member of the church, and I was baptized when I was 8. But
oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so I grew up being a faithful little lad. But
okay.
But after a while, I stopped going. A lot of things happened in my life. In high school, I was supposed to prepare to go on my mission, but then I got a girlfriend, and you know how things go. Mm-hmm. So I left the church. I started drifting away by the end of my high school years. Mm-hmm. And then I didn't have a really good sense of direction spiritually, so I started doing bad things, and one thing led to another, and I was able to find Christ in my lowest moments. I was actually homeless.
Wow.
Yeah, it wasn't for a long time. It was for like a week, and it was in Phoenix. But it was in the middle of June. Actually, in the beginning of July.
Okay. And
it was harsh because the weather was very hot, and I was walking around super thirsty. I passed out a couple times. It was pretty rough, and but I was able to see the little tender mercies of God. By that time that I was homeless, I knew that God existed because of the things that I have seen before that led me to be homeless, and I was able to see His merciful hand throughout that whole week, and I was able to receive water and food, and like the craziest times, I knew that God provided that.
Wow, that is so cool.
Yeah, and He provided a lot of people to help me in the way, and when I came back, I was just so interested in knowing where God was. I was like, oh man, I know God exists. I didn't even know the church was true. I was just like, God, I know He exists, so let me just give me like a Quran or like a Torah. I don't know. Just give me something that talks about God.
Yes.
And I have this friend that she was preparing to go on her mission, and I went to her house because she was the only close friend that I had that was like strong in the church. Mm-hmm. And I told her briefly what happened, and then in that moment I asked her, by any chance, do you have a Book of Mormon that I could borrow? And, like a faithful missionary, she ran into her house and brought out a book and then had me... I read that whole thing in a month. All I did was read, and work and read and work and read. I didn't have a social life. I didn't do anything else. I just worked and read. Wow. And it really changed my life. Every day I was practicing, like, what is good, what is not good. And I was just remembering, what's funny about it is that I think it was President Holland, when he was Elder Holland, he was talking about how if you instruct your children, you do your best to teach them before they grow old, and then they leave the church, they will remember the things that they learned, right? Yeah. He was telling that to the parents. Right. And during that whole time when I was homeless and I was faced with all those trials, I was remembering times in primary, little times when I read with my mom in the scriptures. I had no idea what was going on when I was a small kid, but those little special, like very specifically helpful things came to my mind. And I was able to push forward, and soon enough I was changed. I just knew exactly what I wanted. Wow. I was reading the Book of Mormon, and I finished Jacob chapter 1. And that's when Nephi, and I think it's Nephi and his brother Jacob. That's when Nephi dies, I think. And then Jacob was talking about how he was like magnifying his calling and his office, and he just wanted to let everybody know about the gospel, and that really just struck my heart, and I said, well, I think I want to serve a mission. Wow. So I spoke with my branch president, and I told my mom, and she could not believe it. She had lost trust, of course, naturally, because of the things that I did, and I lied and everything, but when she heard that, she was just so relieved. She never thought that I would go on a mission. I never thought I would go on a mission. Yeah. But because of that, I was able to find Christ. And I'm a mission. My knowledge and my testimony of Christ got solidified, because you need a sense of direction to know where to go and to what degree you should take your practices of the gospel. True. Because before I was just like, man, should I kill animals? Like, should I kill an insect? Would that be a sin? Like just little things like that. Just me thinking, trying to connect dots, and just little silly things like that. But then once I went on a mission, I learned and I practiced more, and I kind of mellowed out in the way where I know more or less how to be. Yeah. Well, and you were able to probably find those answers, right? Like, it was probably, and it's a process. It really is, especially if you're coming back from something that is so challenging and where you didn't have God in your life, like at all, so you're like, it wasn't even like, you didn't even know if he existed, or maybe you weren't at least, you weren't practicing anything spiritually, like you weren't reading, you weren't praying, you weren't doing anything that could bring him in, and so when you're coming from that and you're coming back, it's like, okay, this is a process. This is something you have to learn little by little, as the scripture says, line upon line, or precept upon precept, here a little and there a little, like it just takes time. And it sounds like that's kind of what happened for you on your mission, because what was the period of time from when you read the Book of Mormon to when you went and served a mission? So I had a year of preparation. Oh, neat. So I think it was 2020. I went homeless exactly on July 3rd of 2020. And then... Oh, and that was a fun year to do that. I know, right? I guess everybody was struggling, but you were even in a different way. It was tough because everything was closed. Yeah, so that's interesting. I had to walk around with a face mask, and people didn't really trust what was going on, and me looking like I looked very homeless. Yeah. So it was hard to be like, hey, like walk up to somebody random in the street, like, hey, can I borrow your phone? I need to do this and that, because everybody was just skeptical about the distance, and just like a random dude just walking up to you on the street talking to you like that. It was I really had to ponder what I said and did before I did it, because I just knew that those times were pretty rough to be, outside. Yes. But yeah, so in that year, obviously you came and read the Book of Mormon, and that sounds like it was just an amazing experience for you. It changed
how did you say it? You changed your life, just
yeah,
your trajectory,
completely.
or yeah, and your mindset around everything. Like it just shifted. So at that point, or somewhere down the line, you were able to put in your papers. And where did you get called to serve
Los
a mission?
Angeles.
Los Angeles. Oh, neat.
Yeah.
I just came back from there.
Really?
Yeah. So that's cool. So so tell me a little bit about your mission and a little bit about that experience of serving the Lord, being fully engrossed, right? That's what a mission does, is it fully, it takes over your whole life. Like that is what your purpose is to be serving God and one with him and sharing his word, right? So what a transformation, right? Like what a shift, which is super awesome. But so yeah, tell me a little bit about that experience for you.
So something that it was such an amazing experience, and everybody's mission is tailored for themselves specifically. I struggled a lot with putting myself down for my shortcomings. I was like, I was trying to be like super 110% obedient in everything. So I was like I was a little harsh on myself, and I reflected that on the people that I was with as well. I learned how to be better, but it was nice to be able to learn how to have empathy, and also learn how to deal with, just being like a leader. My mission president really trusted me, and he had me, fulfill leader roles, and I was just learning how to not be harsh on myself and not be harsh on others.
Yeah.
And
that's
then,
a lesson everybody, I feel like, needs to learn at one point or another.
Yeah, and that was, I think that was like my biggest struggle, just like try to regulate it. But on my mission, I was able to meet so many cool people, and I even met homeless people that had my problems, and I was homeless. Just like they were like so confused spiritually, and they didn't know what was going on, and I was able to help a lot of people come into Christ. There was a lot of people that that felt the power from, just the Book of Mormon in general in our testimonies. It's very powerful to be able to share your testimony. You don't even have to be dramatic about it. You just say it, and the Spirit carries it to their heart.
Yeah, that's really neat. Is there any specific story that comes to mind that you want to share about one of these individuals who was able to have a shift, kind of like you did?
Yeah. So this was in my second area, my third transfer. That's like after 3 months of my mission. And I was training a new missionary in his second transfer. And so now we do things online.
Yeah.
It's more effective to reach out to the people that already said that they want to learn something, instead of just like cold calling and knocking on doors. We still do that, but just to do online was a little more effective. And there was this lady that she had family in Idaho that referred her. So we went to go visit her. We kind of got mixed up on the addresses, but we ended up hitting, her house and everything. And the way that she described herself before, because of course a lot of people change how they act in front of people, like missionaries, they go to church, so they kind of seem to be mellow. So I didn't expect this from this lady, but she was talking about how she used to party all the time, how she used to cuss all the time and drink and do all these things, and my companion and I, we didn't know anything about it. She didn't look like somebody like that, and she said that she was just like that. And after our first lesson with her, I think we read 3rd Nephi 11. I believe so. And I remember by the end of the lesson, we got up to shake her hand, and she says, "I feel different. I feel something. I don't know what it is." And we're just like, "Yep, it's a spirit." And then we told her, "Okay, so with that feeling that you have, you can read a little more, and then just pray. Just ask your Father if this is true." And then we went about. We came back in a week. And then she told us, "That night that you came, I prayed, and then I dreamt my mother that passed away." And she was just giving some details, but basically she said that her mother was saying, keep going. Just keep going on that way. And I was just looking at my companion and I said, what is this? She was saying, I think she said that she was wearing white, and then she said, keep going on the way, don't stop. And in that moment we just started teaching her, and then it came to the day where it was like the third or fourth lesson. I told my companion, we have to invite her to get baptized. There is no way we're going to let this pass by. And when we were talking in the middle of the lesson, because she started talking to her family in Idaho more because of the missionaries and everything.
Yeah.
And then she said, oh yeah, I was talking with I think it was her cousin or her niece. Well, yeah, I was talking with her and she asked me, do you want to get baptized? And I said, yeah, I would love to get baptized. And then I just looked at my companion and I was a little nervous. I just asked her again. I tried to prepare the question and everything, but in the end she was like, yeah, I want to get baptized. So we just put her on date, and it was cool because my mom had a spiritual experience in the temple where she was able to smell my grandmother when she passed through the veil the first time. She had the familiar smell of my grandmother, and it was very special because like I told my mom to talk with her and have a lesson, and then what happened was we had her on Zoom. We had her on Messenger, and then she was sharing like all these experiences, and they connected very well.
Oh, so just through Messenger, this woman you were teaching.
Yeah.
And your mom. That's
neat.
I
asked my mission president, but he said, well, you have to put her on baptismal date for that to happen. And I think that's like the lesson after. That's when she said she wanted to get baptized. So we were like, all right, let's do it.
Oh, that's neat.
And it was very special. And after that, she got baptized, and she was so emotional when she got out of the water. Her family member's husband was the one that baptized her, and the whole family was there. And I think it was her niece. She had a niece that came to watch the baptism, and she was crying because she said, Aunt, I'm getting baptized today too. Oh. And she's just like, what? What are you talking about? Yeah, missionaries have been talking to me. I'm going to get baptized as well. Wow. So she got baptized. So they were just like crying, and it was all. And then that was like 3-4 months into my mission. And now my last area at the end of my mission was that same area. So I came back, and then she told me, I had some struggles, but because her husband would argue with her. Her husband would get drunk and argue with her every time she came from church. And she was just walking distance from church. She was like a block away, so it was like super easy for her to come.
Oh, nice, yeah.
And she just really struggled with those things. And then she said, one day, my husband, he stopped drinking and he said, let's go to church. So he started going to church with her. Wow. So every time we'd go to church, we'd see her and him, and he was so happy when he saw us. Her family really, they love me. So yeah. It was really nice to be able to come back, and they said, hey, it's so nice to see you again. And by the end, right before I left home, went back to my house, the husband said, I want to get baptized. Wow. Yeah. So we never got a lesson with him to get him on date, but he was definitely on his way. Yeah. They said that they went to Hawaii. I don't know if it was in the time of the fires. I think it was. But
in California?
In Hawaii.
Oh, in Hawaii.
Yeah, there was I think there was like a fire going on about like a year ago. Wow. Or something like half a year ago. And they went to a sacrament meeting there, and he bore his testimony on the podium. Wow. And he's like, I'm sorry to everybody that I've hurt. I'm sorry to my family that I've hurt. I want to get baptized. Wow. So I was just absolutely blown out of my mind because, she invited us over to eat, and she told me, Verduzco or Christopher, she would call me by my name, and she told me, you really have changed my life. And I was like, sister, I didn't do anything. I was just there. It's the Lord. And she's like, well, you were his instrument, and you and your companion, it was very special that you came, and you'll always be welcome. And she was just talking about how drastically she's changed. And I couldn't really contrast her because I never saw her do any of those bad things, right? Mm-hmm. But she was just so thankful. And the atonement of Jesus Christ in that lady was powerful because she could glow. She was glowing. And it was so awesome.
That is so beautiful. And I feel like you can relate to her so well, too.
Yeah.
Which I think is so neat because the Lord he knows when people like that can connect, you know? Yeah. And even maybe with your mom and things like it's really cool to think about. And I love how you shared that her example influenced her husband and inspired him to change, which I think is sometimes we forget that what an influence we can have just by doing simple things like living the gospel, like the simple little things of going to church or changing ourselves, you know, like allowing the atonement of Jesus Christ, as you mentioned, to come into our lives, to change us, to help us become better and just more spiritual and well-rounded people. Like we're better. And that alone, if we keep on it, like almost like her mother said in her dream, if you keep going, like it really does want to pull, especially your loved ones, along with you, and help them and just inspire them. And I think it can take time. Like it can really take a long time. I think it's super cool that you were able to be there and see her get baptized, which is almost like the, that special moment where it's like, oh, they got baptized because there's so much that happens after baptism, right? Like it's not like everything's easy going afterwards, which it wasn't for her. And it's so cool that you got to go back and hear that part of the story and understand what's happened in the meantime, right?
The very special part about it is that I learned that her mother's temple work was done before that. So she was able to get all those ordinances done for her in the temple after she had passed away.
Okay.
So I know that influenced greatly on the ability for her to help her daughter come to the gospel.
Yeah, well, and because she was she already knew, had her own testimony of it too. And you mentioned that, in the temple we can do proxy work for others that have already passed away. Yeah. And of course they get to, on the other side, there are, they've passed away, they get to choose whether or not they accept that or not, right? Like it is still their choice. But in this case, it sounds like, she's like, yes, I do accept this work that was done for me. They don't have a body, they can't get baptized. So it's proxy work. It's something we do for those who are deceased. And it's such a beautiful work. It's such a wonderful service, I think, for us and for those who have passed on. So what a neat story. That is really cool. And I love to hear all of the different pieces that come together in individuals' stories, it kind of reminds us all that we're really all just connected one way or another, and we have a lot that we can learn and benefit from each other in our stories. So I guess to kind of wrap things up just a little bit, why don't you tell me about a little bit more, because you've told me a little bit already, about how the Savior has changed you and how your life has changed for the better because of what he's done and your journey with him.
Yeah, definitely. Since I was a little rough on myself because I just wanted to be perfect. I was just like, I just got to do this because I don't want to go to hell, So I just kept doing it, and the way that my mom expressed how I was, she said, "Son, you're completely different from who you were before. You don't have the same ideas. You definitely don't do the same things you did before." And she said, "You have made a complete difference in your life." And then I had friends just tell me that whenever I smiled at them or I was talking to them, there was a light to my face. Mm. And I was like, what are you talking about? And people could see it. People could definitely see the change that the Savior did in my life. And I remember I was reading in the Book of Mormon and I got to Mosiah 27, which is the story of Alma the Younger.
Yes.
And I had read I love that there has been a recent General Conference talk about it. It was perfect. But I read the testimony of Alma the Younger when he wakes up, and he talks about how he rejected the prophets and how he had done so many bad things, but now he comes to the light. And I remember when I was reading that, I had like, my heart literally was just, it felt like it was just being squished. And I poured my eyes out like crazy, and I was crying, I was sobbing, and I was on my knees on my couch. I was praying to God, and I was just like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And that was such a changing moment for me, because it was exactly how I felt. Yeah. That story with Alma the Younger, his testimony was just, it just hit me, because I felt like my feelings were put into words and put on the paper.
Wow.
And it was probably the strongest moment that I've had with the Spirit. I've had pretty strong moments, especially on my mission. But that was I already had a big turning point, but that just solidified that turning point when I read Mosiah 27.
Yeah. And I think that that's such a great way to say it, because we have spiritual experiences in our lives, but you want to keep having them. And you want to keep, right? Like, you want to keep doing the things that will provide more of those, so you can keep solidifying what you already know. And that testimony that's already ingrained in you, you already have, you've grasped it, but in order to not let it go, you want to keep doing those things that will bring the Spirit and will help you continue to have amazing spiritual experiences, which is, it's perfect, because that is the journey, and that is the process, so that not only we can keep changing and becoming more like Christ, but it also helps us to to almost give us ourselves grace, right? Like you were mentioning, like, you're hard on yourself. I think all of us are hardest on ourselves probably than anybody else, right? It's natural, and I think guilt is real, right? But it's also so that we can change. Like, it moves us toward change and toward becoming more like the Savior, and that is a good thing. It's a good thing, right? But you find that balance between not being too hard on yourself, but also allowing Him to come in and help you and become who He knows you can be. So that's really neat. Is there anything else you want to add, or anything else you had to say that you didn't get to?
Well, just my testimony that I definitely know that God exists, and I definitely know that evil exists as well. I really got to taste both sides when I was homeless. I could, there's like a lot of things that I saw and heard and everything, but I just know that if I didn't have God in my life, I probably wouldn't have made it out of being homeless, because there are so many things that just click together. Perfect timing for everything. And I just know that Jesus Christ is very real. And I know that the Book of Mormon is very true. And I've been able to... The most special moments on my mission was when I was giving my best to be obedient, and I was just always doing the things that I should be doing. And I literally got to feel how tangible the Spirit was around me. It was something special, because it's kind of like, I don't know, I could almost feel God, with my hands. I could just feel Him, and I was just so full of Him, and it's very true. And I know that Joseph Smith is a prophet. He definitely is a prophet. And what's cool about it is that we can ask God about it.
Yeah.
And we'll get an answer. I got answers. So not, I can't say easily, but a lot of them did come with effort, and it's true.
Right. Thank you. That's beautiful. What a beautiful testimony. I agree. I love the way you said it, that it's not always easy. The answers don't always come easy, and sometimes it takes some effort, but they come. And if your heart is in the right place and you're really wanting to know, the Lord will make it known to you in His time and in His way for you, because we're all unique. We're all individuals. So that's wonderful. Thank you so much for being here and for who you are. You're going to go out and do awesome things in the world. So thank you. Appreciate it. I want to thank our guest again for being here today. I pray that as you listened, the Spirit whispered to you the specific actions you can take as you move forward in your daily life. I know Christ is there, and that following those promptings will bring you closer to Him and to lasting and elevated change. May God be with you in your journey. To find out more, visit us at lsistudios.com, and to learn more about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, visit comeuntochrist.org or reach out to us.